Hey everyone, welcome to the Locked on Cavs podcast, your daily look at the Cleveland Cavaliers with my co-host Evan Damrell on today's show. All about Cavs Pacers. The Cavs won 127 to 124. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Lamar Stevens. Yes, Lamar Stevens coming up big for the Cavs in this one. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A few housekeeping notes before we dive too deep into this one. First, want to thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. Remember, we are free and available on all platforms, and that includes YouTube. Also, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com, use the promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Chris Manning. I cover the Cavs and the NBA at large for places like Dime on Uproxx, Fear the Sword, and more. My co-host, Evan Damrell, primarily covers the Cavs for Facebook's Right Down Euclid, as well as FearTheSword.com. Evan, the Cavs just beat the Indiana Pacers. That's what we're going to talk about on today's show. First segment, big takeaway. Second segment, our usual awards. Third segment, I'm probably going to just talk about Lamar Stevens because I would like to do that in more detail than I think we're going to do to start the show. But the Cavs won 127 to 124, a game that was kind of drifting away from them. Energy level after the first quarter was a little bit shaky. And yet the Cavs go on a 9-0 run to start the fourth. Darius Garland is absolutely out of his mind in the fourth quarter. Lamar Stevens makes, I'm going to call it a game assisting block because it led to Darius Garland free throws that ultimately gave the Cavs a lead they would not give up. And the Cavs won, improving to 9-4 on the year in games decided by 3 points or less. Cavs really needed this one and they got it.
Yeah, they really did. Trying to think of a joke here that's not inappropriate, but I can't right now.
It's late. We'll keep the content train moving along.
Locked on Cavs at night, but yeah, this was a good game for the Cavs overall. My big takeaway from this one is the Cavs are not equipped at this moment to kind of get in the track races with teams. I think this Indiana team is a team that isn't good. Obviously, they aren't trying to win. They're just kind of playing freely out there because they know it's not really about this season. It's about this offseason, what's to come for them. Like Tyrese Halliburton's a good piece. Malcolm Brogdon's interesting. Isaiah Jackson's really interesting. I think Jalen Smith just kind of suddenly becoming a legitimate NBA player in Indiana is really something for them too. Like there's a lot of interesting things for the Pacers. So they're just kind of not caring. But then the Cavs just were letting them make any shot, and they just dug themselves into another hole. But for the first time in a while, Cleveland was able to kind of dig themselves out. They can't do this on a night-to-night basis. We've seen this time and time again before. I think a lot of it does have to go with the fact that Darius Garland absolutely bonkers in the fourth quarter. I think Lamar Stevens' clutch defense down the stretch helped a lot too. But I think the Cavs need to find a way again to put away bad teams like this early and keep their foot on the throat of their opponents so that they don't really have to scramble like this for a full 48 minutes.
Yeah, Indiana's been a weird team for that in this regard this year. Right? They were 3 and they swept the season series against Indiana 4-0.
It's the first time they've done it since 2007, 2008.
Which is
to the Cavs.
Yeah, I mean this was a place that I just remember like when they went back for the first time, went there with LeBron, him back for the first time. It was like I think Kyrie and Tristan and those guys had like a really hard time winning in Indiana for whatever reason. And
Kyrie's first road game was in Indianapolis as a Cavalier, and they were chanting overrated because he had like one of the worst games of his career up to that point, 2 games in.
Yes, very early back in those days. But the part of this is the Cavs were coming 3-0 in the year. Had won all of those games without Darius Garland. Had 2 massive comebacks in the last 2 wins, and then Darius Garland is the one who puts the team like on his back, so to speak, and is just absolutely incredible in the fourth quarter. Darius Garland played the entire fourth quarter, 12 minutes, 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line. It's part of a 9 of 9 free throw shooting night. 21 points for Garland. The Cavs won the fourth quarter, 37-26. After they won the first quarter, we're outscored by 8 in the second, outscored by 8 again in the third. We're down by 8 going into the fourth, and then Darius Garland had the Cavs have an 11-point win in the fourth quarter. Pretty impressive stuff. Maybe for you bettors out there, they didn't cover, but like the Cavs got it done. And standings wise, Evan, this matters too. Cavs came into this one, 5.5. Came into this game 3 games ahead of Toronto. They are now 3.5 games up on Toronto, a half of game back of Boston. With the Nets also winning this game, they keep themselves 5.5 games ahead of Brooklyn, who is the 8th seed right now, and they are 6.5 games ahead of the Charlotte 9th seed, and as well as the 10th seed Atlanta Hawks. So the Cavs have a cushion here, and like this, it wouldn't have evaporated. Obviously, would have lost that game, but like they're a game behind the Bulls, and they played the Bulls on Saturday. And they're, only 5.5 back of the Heat, but like the East is tight. Cavs are still in the thick of it, and they have this cushion below them with still, if things break right for them, there still is a little bit of upward mobility to maybe get a better seed than the 6th seed. It's maybe not going to be pretty, but it's still in play.
Yeah, it's not really that pretty. I feel like the Cavs, like I said, need to win these games against lesser opponents because they have some real tests coming up as well. They play the Heat and the Bulls back-to-back to kind of cap up this weekend, Friday and Saturday. And let's just say the Bulls play in Detroit, I believe, Thursday. They're inactive Wednesday, so they're inactive tonight. They play Wednesday, then they're off till Saturday then? Or
Yes,
am I wrong?
No, you're right. I'm looking at the schedule now. So in terms of like important games to maybe monitor this week, Chicago plays in Detroit tomorrow. Boston plays at Charlotte tomorrow. Atlanta plays at Milwaukee tomorrow, and then you go down the list a little bit. There's no Philly.
I'm not too focused on the Bucks right now. I'm more so focused on the
Yeah.
Celtics and the Bulls, who are both inactive tonight as we record this. So that means Cleveland is a half game back of Boston for the 5th seed. They're a full game back of Chicago for the 4th seed. Let's just say Chicago beats Detroit. Let's say Cleveland somehow beats Miami. Just weird stuff keeps happening for the Cavs this season. Why not? Saturday's game becomes monumentally important for the Cavs in terms of seeding. And the Bally Sports broadcast kind of pointed this out. The Bulls have lost 4 or 5 games in a row up to this point. So they're kind of on a backward slide. So this could be a good opportunity for the Cavs to kind of capitalize on this momentum that they're trying to build and really beat Chicago. And I know we're kind of fixated on what's to come and not talking about this game enough, but there's a lot of interesting things in this Cavs game as well. I mean, yeah, I disagree with them trying to keep pace with the Pacers or teams like this who are just kind of playing freely, and maybe just because the Cavs just don't have the offensive personnel. And like you noted, like at the start of the fourth, the Cavs had they were juiced defensively and they shut down the Pacers. I believe they outscored Indiana 7-0, and that kind of reset the tone for them.
9-0. And the energy level we saw from Cleveland to start this fourth quarter, to like before we transition to talking about Darius Garland to lead the next 7, because he deserves a lot of attention, and we're gonna give it to him and giving him the MVP. Spoiling it now, he's the MVP of this game. The energy level was like very low in the third and like pretty low in the second, and it was like good to start the first. And I'm like, okay, this just feels like a game.
Bush, low energy.
Please clap. The energy level.
I'm sorry, Mom.
The energy level was like it just built up and just kept and kept and kept. And for Darius and Evan in particular, the Cavs, 2 superstars, budding superstars, to do what they did and kind of carry the team in that way. As Evan fixes his hat, if you hear the pop in the audio, I'm really sorry. They had in a situation there where they had the situation where their 2 young stars were the ones who got them there, right? Like such a big deal for them to get that. And Evan, after the break, we're going to give out awards. MVP, stat of the night, play of the night. We're going to lead off by talking about the MVP of this game, one Darius Garland. But first, you are going to tell everyone about our friends at PrizePicks.
I agree. Go Cavs. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option?
Does size matter?
Dude, it's sometimes not about the size of the boat. It's the motion of the ocean, unless you're Austin Carr. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try out the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love it, and we know you'll love it too if you cross the Ohio border into a gambling legal state. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks offers a variety of options, and they offer you any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. PrizePicks also allows mixed sports entries. If some of you bet on Russell Wilson being a Denver Bronco, you might have made some good money today. And PrizePicks just doesn't offer NBA. They have options on college basketball, college football, NFL, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our faithful Locked On Cavs listeners. Users who sign up right now get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, you win, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On Cavs fans. Sign up today and use the code NBA for $50 for free. If a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, you win.
You made it, and I'm proud of you. And you're my MVP for that ad read.
Bro,
It's a lot. It's a lot. We're gonna leave it at that. Anyway,
like David Blatt, I was a fighter pilot in that one.
You played in front of presidents. Anyway, Chris Manning, Evan Damler here for the Locked On Cavs podcast, your daily look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan, MVP from Cavs Pacers. Darius Garland, massive fourth quarter. Again, had 21 points in the fourth quarter. 21 big ones. A career high, 41 points for Darius.
9 plus 10. 21. Yeah, no, this is a career high for Darius. That's my stat of the night. This is a very Darius Garland centric segment. Before we really get into the meat and potatoes of it, let's just mention Evan Mobley was phenomenal as well.
No. Let's just go to Darius Garland. I want to just.
I'm just gonna give my shouts to Evan Mobley. He stuffed the stat sheet. First time he played center, I think he looked really well. I think this is kind of the next step of his level up offensively, which is weird to think, just how refined he is already as a rookie. And I'm excited to see where this goes. All right, now enough with the chit chat, and let's start some chit chat about Darius Garland. He was fucking sweet in this game.
Darius Garland is a star, and Darius Garland is like instrumental to this Cavs team. He's instrumental to their identity. He is the one shot maker on the team right now. This was one of those games where you could like really feel them like missing, one of Karis LeVert, or like why Ricky Rubio is so important to this team, or why Colin Sexton would be an interesting fit on what this team is right now. They just like need someone else to do stuff with the ball. And Darius Garland just kind of took that all on his chest and was like, I'm going to handle this, and just kind of dominated the fourth quarter, like was very clearly the most impactful player on the floor. The Pacers had to a point where just like, we're going to aggressively trap you above the 3-point line and like dare you to pass the ball. And like they were trying to recover, and so they weren't playing like playing 3-on-4 defense. Like utterly just impressive stuff from Darius, to the point where like it is just, you want to cut the tape of the season, you want to cut whatever you want from this year, and say this is like why Darius is so important. This is one of those games to me, obviously, where you can say this is why Darius Garland is probably the MVP of this Cavs season. This is why he's had a leap this year from being like kind of an interesting young guard, like, not sure exactly what he's going to be, at least in my opinion, to like, this is a dude. This is a super duper star in the making here, an all-star level guy that has it. He is incredible. And like this is one of those performances that like this like checks the box of like, we hadn't seen just like a scoring rampage from him like this to close out a game. And like now he's done it, and he did it like it was nothing.
Yeah, he really did do it like it was nothing. I think you said he played the entire fourth quarter. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but for the most part,
he did. At least according to the Cavs official box score.
He took a hard foul, and it was okay. There was a bit of a scare about midway into the third when he took a shot to the lower back, and he was kind of grabbing a little bit, and he was checked out of the game. It was an offensive foul call on him, which was kind of a weird call, but either way, he ended up playing 37 minutes in this game, which I think you just kind of need at this point. I mean, Rondo was largely ineffective in this one. No Brandon Goodwin whatsoever. So we were both wrong. Goodwin's out of the rotation entirely, and Rondo's just going to soak up 10 minutes a night, or maybe more if he's on. But this was a phenomenal game from Darius. And JB Bickerstaff said if he didn't make every single one of those buckets, they wouldn't have won this game. And also shout out to the Garland clan as well. Darius shared with media post game that his family was supposed to be in attendance because he grew up in Gary and his family's still in Gary. A lot of his friends and family are, and he talked to his mom last night, and I guess every time his family comes to a road game, the Cavs lose, and his mom's superstitious, so they didn't come to the game tonight. And I think maybe that just had a little bit to do with it too. Who knows? But um, just an interesting game overall. Like Darius Garland was just freaking incredible. Like just fully showed his full bag of tricks in this game. Like has a bag on a bag on a bag end. Like he could be Baggins. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a joke here as I talk, but either way, Darius is just really good in this game. Like he is a star, like you said, a superstar. I'd say. The Cavs are in a very, very good place because they have a franchise point guard that is likely going to be under contract for the foreseeable future, unless like something completely nutty happens this offseason.
Yes. Getting the max deserved superstar, etc. Okay, Evan, play of the night. You have a Darius one, so why don't you shout that out, and then I'll talk about Lamar.
No, my
You
player of the
have
night was
you have the Mobley fadeaway.
you silly goose. No, it's not even the Mobley fadeaway. With 3:46 left in the fourth quarter, Evan Mobley throws a lob pass to Dean Wade. Yes, the fadeaway jumper was my original pick as well, but just like kind of seeing Evan Mobley just really show off his offensive repertoire is really cool. And I think it's funny that people were teasing Darius that Evan Mobley is just going to be the new lob pass thrower, but you saw Jared Allen throwing it to Mobley. Mobley just kind of getting deeper in his bag is just a cool thing. What's your play of the night pick? I think we all know what the answer is.
It's Lamar Stevens and help defense.
Yeah.
Lamar Stevens, like I'm writing about this. I already wrote about it. It'll be up at Fear the Sword in the morning. This guy just kind of like was the back, like with Jared Allen out. We haven't even said this yet. This is the first game Jared Allen, the first game the Cavs have played without Jared Allen since he fractured his finger. He was the back line of help defense because Okoro was pinned to Halliburton, and then Garland's on Dwayne Washington Jr. So Lamar slides off of Jalen Smith after Brogdon beat Dean Wade after there had been some switching, and he blocked the shot at the rim. That shot, Darius Garland gets the ball, is fouled because the Pacers, I believe, were out of timeouts and we're trying to guarantee another possession. It seems that's my guess. I asked Tony East from Locked On Pacers if Rick Carlisle was asked about it or said anything about that, and he didn't. So I'm just going to assume that was sort of what happened there, and he kind of like was the catalyst to the Cavs getting the 2 game-winning free throws Garland hit. So like I just want to shout at that play because it was incredible, and I'm a Lamar. Lamar's good. I like Lamar.
Yeah, he is good. He's really good, and like I think just it's interesting to think maybe where he gets minutes when Karis LeVert comes back. JB Bickerstaff did say pregame that LeVert isn't very close to coming back to the floor. He's ramping up production, and they're slowly bringing him along. But Lamar Stevens still, in my opinion, deserves minutes in this rotation on a night-to-night basis just because of the spark he brings to this team defensively. He may not have like the most complete game offensively, but like defensively, he's a real NBA player. He's a stud. Like tip your hat to the Cavs for kind of signing guys to 2-way deals like him and Dean Wade and making them into meaningful rotation pieces. But in terms of all like those 2-way undrafted guys they've turned into rotation pieces, Lamar's the one who should probably stick in this rotation. And it kind of confuses me sometimes why he doesn't, but like nights like tonight really like put into perspective why you might want him out there, not even just clutch situations, but just in general, because he provides a spark for your team and really is such an elite and cerebral defender on certain plays like that is a great example of it.
Yes. We'll talk about him a little bit more in the third segment because I think that rotation point is something we should come back to. Just real quick, stat of the night. Mine's 24 of 27 from the free throw line for Cleveland. That includes the 9 of 9 from Darius. This is think about how many times this year, Evan, we have gone to post game and the team has been asked. They've talked about missing free throws in close games and that costing them wins. They didn't do that tonight, and they won a close game that they needed to win. So like that's just something I think to keep an eye on. What is your stat of the night?
My stat of the night is just pretty easy. I mentioned at the top, but I'll say it again. This was Darius Garland's career high, 41 points, which is absolutely wild to think because I always thought like, oh, he's done this before, and then the broadcast said it, and then most of the Cavs social channels like instantaneously said it when he broke 40. But 41 points, really cool to see. I think just the sky's the limit for Darius's potential, and this is just one of those games that really like crystallized how elite his skill set is offensively.
Yes, I do want to just, I think on that point, note that, like, I think, people saying he was like a score first guy, all this stuff, like, I think that the fact
Oh
that
no,
this
the
is like,
13 assists were huge too.
yes, but I'm saying, like, the fact that, like, coming into this year, I think the broader, I don't think us, but I think, like, a lot of perception of him was this is a score first, shoot first kind of guard. He's never been that in the NBA, really. And like this is the first this we're starting to see his shot making really evolve this year. That has actually been one of the real developments of him. So after the break, we're gonna empty out our Cavs Pacers notebooks and just kind of close out the show by thinking about this game just a little bit more. We'll start, I think, importantly, with how we thought the Cavs looked without Jared Allen and what are some of the things we noticed. But first, going to tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar, Evan, is helping people stick to their New Year's resolutions this year. I know I'm sticking to mine, and that's in part because I'm eating Built Bars. When I'm eating them, it almost doesn't feel like a resolution, though, because I just enjoy eating them. These are low-calorie, high-protein treats. They're all covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, they're great, puffs included. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Wow. Compare that to a candy bar, which has usually 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Great flavors like mint brownie, coconut, and coconut almond. And they have a white chocolate shamrock flavor right now if you want to celebrate a little bit of St. Patty's Day with a protein bar. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, last segment, Chris Manning, Evan Damrell. This is the Locked On Cavs podcast. Evan, what did you think of the Cavs without Jared Allen? What stood out to you in terms of their performance in their first game without him?
The lack of interior defense was certainly noticeable. I think you and I both talked about how the Cavs would really struggle on that side of the ball, and it'd be a bit of a learning curve for Evan Mobley to. I mean, yes, he is a 4 or 5, but he has never played the 5, and I think it is a little bit of a different game. But I think the Cavs are adjusting, and they'll do better. I don't know if Indiana's the best litmus test to talk about it, but like it was concerning to talk about how bad the Cavs look defensively. Like I said in the very first segment, it's concerning to watch them kind of struggle like they do, like where they come out locked in and they just kind of peter off, and then like they need like a strong effort in the fourth quarter and a miracle from Lamar Stevens in order to clinch a win. Like we couldn't be having this conversation if like certain lucky things just didn't go bounce Cleveland's way towards the end there. But I also noticed the Cavs are playing a lot faster too. That's just something I noticed in general. And Allen was out against Toronto after he went down with the injury, and he was out tonight. The Cavs play with a little bit of higher pace, a little bit faster sense of urgency. Obviously, using Evan Mobley more as a creator is a big thing too. But like those are just some of the key things I noticed, and there's plenty of others. But what did you notice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last possession that, or at least the last couple, when like it's notable that like when Mobley's on the perimeter and he's switching and stuff, one of the keys of the Cleveland defense this year has been Jared Allen as that backline rim protector, and like that's not there, so you have to have someone like Steven step up and make a play. I think the pace thing is right. I thought Mobley had 4 offensive rebounds in this one. Again, I'm just saying this is something that I was saying watch, and it turned out to be right. Mobley was also just kind of everywhere in this game. 22 points, 8 of 15 from the field, 12 rebounds, 5 steals, a block shot, and 3 assists. Was also 6 of 8 from the line, which is like well above where he's been in the mid 60s as far as free throw percentage goes. Just a really kind of important thing. The rotation in this game was a little bit wonky. You saw the starters all played 30 plus. Lamar played 19, and he was the high guy coming off the bench. This was not a Kevin Love game. He was 15 minutes, 4 of 11 from the field.
Not a Jetty Osman game either.
Jetty Osman played 12 minutes, had 0 points. And I think most notably to me, Ed Davis is what he is. But I didn't think Rondo was very good. And I think some of that can be, him coming back, all of that stuff. But like I did not feel like Rondo was like in line with sort of what they're doing. You could see him trying to like direct guys cutting. You could see him, like there's a play where he was trying to get Okoro to cut from the corner, and then he pointed out so aggressively that the Pacers almost like saw it coming, and it was a turnover. That'll have to get ironed out, but he only played 11 minutes, and we didn't see Brandon Goodwin. So, we'll see what this means going forward. And this was just his first game back. And as you noted, like it doesn't seem like LeVert's return is imminent by any means. So, like, this will have to, I think, be ironed out. But it is notable. I also thought Larry Markkinen was pretty good. Only 1 of 5 from 3, but and had like a very, very Larry Markkinen post up in this game where he just got
Thought of you when I
absolutely
saw that.
got owned in the post. But then he also had some really good moments at the rim and
Actually, I
hustled,
thought of
and
your
he was
dad
good.
when I saw that.
My father does not. I'll have to. I'll be spending the day with him on Saturday, and I will report back on Monday's show when I surely bring up Lowry Markkinen into the car, because he's been watching every game, and I usually get some texts, and I haven't got Lowry text. So he's a big Lamar guy though. He is a big Lamar guy.
Your dad is a man of taste, so or
My
does he just listen to the
father-in-law
podcast?
shouts to Mike Miller. Definitely doesn't listen to the show, but he was he's in Indiana on a work trip, and he went out of his way to go to this game. He said he paid $14 for his ticket, including the fees. So shouts to Mike Miller.
You know, Indiana has a really nice arena, so I hope he enjoyed it. I think it's a really cool little gem. I still wish it was Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I think it's Gainbridge Fieldhouse now, which is weird. So, um, yeah, it's interesting to note how Larry Markin is playing, but like this has been a pretty good stretch for him post All-Star break. Like he's played without Garland in the lineup. He's played a lot, obviously, without Allen in the lineup, without Rondo too, without LeVert. Like a lot of lead guards. He's been kind of having learned how to play with like Brandon Goodwin, and I think this was a golden opportunity for him to get acclimated with playing with three big men. I think it was interesting to see JB go Dean Wade, Larry Markkinen, and Evan Mobley in this one, but it makes sense. You stick with what you are a big proponent of, and you ride that out until you're absolutely tapped out on that, and that probably won't be till next season. But Markkinen's played super well, man. Like I have been very impressed with what he provides. I think, like you said, the post up stuff's a little silly. He is really a 7-foot guard in a power forward center's body, but he provides some depth. He provides something of interest, and I think getting him and Garland just acclimated. Don't shake your head at me. It's late. Getting everyone acclimated, and him especially, is just going to be integral for this Cavs team. It's also worth noting too. This was in my notes, just mentally, and we're shifting lanes a little bit. JB Bickerstaff, said he's unsure if Jared Allen will be back before the end of the regular season. Does that cause any concern for you, or is it just like a wait and see? Like let's evaluate how this team looks in B5-ish. Let's just say 5 games after life without Jared Allen.
I think they have this like buffer that I think like it's not a concern as much about where they're going to end up seeding wise. Like I feel pretty confident. I think this is going to be a top 6 team in the East as of right now. But I do think
they will be in the I don't see them being in a play-in.
Yeah, it would, things could go like really badly, but like I think like if they just tread water to some degree, they should be okay. I think the biggest problem is, what does this mean for their like ability to hit the ground running the postseason? What does he look like? When does he exactly come back? And I think LeVert is part of that too. I think LeVert is almost like a bigger concern to me because he's played 4 games and like you don't know what you have with him, and that's I think a tricky thing to manage almost more than the Jared Allen.
Follow-up question when it comes to Caris LeVert. Let's say he doesn't really get acclimated at all, and the injury concerns really become like a forefront thing where you're like, okay, this guy just can't stay healthy. Would you consider trading him this offseason if just to try and make an upgrade of some kind, or maybe go get like a draft pick to make another move?
There are 3 untouchable players on the roster, and he's not one of them. So, yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know how you felt about asset management, if you felt like you'd be losing the theoretical trade of, because if you're the Cavs, you're not getting your first round pick this year. It's going to the Pacers.
It's gonna be like 19.
Yeah, but either way,
I still think the trade. I get it. It's not. It's just this is like the lowest 1% outcome that you could hope for. So it's
I wouldn't
not
say
been
it's
good.
1%. I had like a 15% expectation. Like I 15% of me expected this to happen just because Caris LeVert struggles to stay healthy, and foot injuries are like his biggest bugaboo.
No, it's not that what I mean is like I think this is like the worst 1% of outcomes. What has happened?
Yeah,
that's sort of what I mean. Evan, I want to end on this just to tie like a little bow in this game. So the Cavs had an offensive rating of 128.3, which is very good. That's like well above their average, well above league average. They did this while shooting 28.1% from 3, which is like bad. That's like that's like 7% below Average. This is what happens when you still shoot about 50% from the field, shoot 90% from 3, and I think most importantly, and I think we didn't even they had a turnover percentage of 7.1%. Darius Garland in this game, despite all the times he had the ball in his hand, just had 4 turnovers. Evan Mobley had 0. Isaac Okoro had 1. Markkanen had 0. And Wade had 0. And no other player besides Garland had more than 1 turnover. That's like kind of wild.
Yeah,
Kind of
it
wild.
really is. It's super wild, but it's definitely interesting to see what happens next. Just like that.
Yes.
That's just I'm kind of gonna one last quick housekeeping note though. The Cleveland Charge of the NBA G League lost to the Motor City Cruise 126-120 tonight as well at the Wolstein Center. The Charge now 3-13 on the season. Malik Newman had 20 points and got the Charge within 4, but it doesn't matter. They have one last home game this Friday against the Wisconsin Heritage Dollar Dog Night. So maybe Chris and I will just show up, just slam some H Dizzles, and then go watch the Cavs play the Heat.
I could not do Dollar Dog Night for at my age. But Jackson
That's
Flickinger
a
wrote a recap
Twitter
about this.
attitude.
Yes. Jackson Flickinger from Fearless wrote about this over at the site, so you can go read his recap of the game if you're interested in that. Evan wrote the recap for this game. I have a piece coming out over there on the Lamar Stevens block. So a ton of great stuff if you want to read about the Cleveland Cavaliers beating the Indiana Pacers on Thursday show.
If you liked my Pacers recap, let me know if you liked my 7-Eleven joke. I was really proud of it because Larry Market was 7-Eleven. I wrote it at the time.
It was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was good effort. Thursday show, we're gonna do a mailbag. I'm gonna, I technically have said on Twitter that we're not taking any more questions. If you're listening and you want to drop one, maybe put it in the comments below. Send us an email to lockedoncavs@gmail.com, and we can add it on there. We've got some good ones already, but if you want to throw in some more, we can throw them into the mix. And then Friday we'll be previewing the big weekend games. But until next time, I'm Chris. That's Evan. Be well. Be safe. It's still cold out there, so wear a jacket. You don't want to pick up a cold while you're navigating this kind of March Ohio weather if you're in the Ohio area.
It's lousy smarch weather, baby.
And most importantly, dare I say, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Be well.